Hey boo hey, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be continuing this healing diary series that I've got going on. I'm just really enjoying sitting and talking to you guys about life, and I feel like so many of you are in a place where the things that I'm saying are resonating with you because we've all been through some things. Like we all just life is life in. And so today I want to talk about this subject that I've really been kind of wrestling with and am feeling like I have come to a conclusion on, and that is, but where was God? I have linked it down below, kind of the backstory of what's taking place in my life. But long story short, I got into a narcissistic abusive relationship and had a full mental breakdown, and am still on the road of recovery with that, compounded with the other traumatic events that I have gone through that I didn't deal with in my life. And like I said, one of the things that I struggled with was, but where was God? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. If you feel like you are going to be offended by this video, please turn it off. Please watch something else. If you're not going to have anything nice to say for people who may not agree with you, please keep it moving, because this is going to be a safe space. Not everybody is religious, not everybody is Christian. God to them may look completely different than the God to me, but I do believe in Jesus, in God, and in the Holy Spirit. If that is already something that you are not able to relate with, and again, find that it may be challenging to still be encouraging to someone else that is going through a hard time and maybe asking this question, please find another video on my channel to watch. I have plenty of just fun makeup videos. This look may be posted. Just go ahead and know yourself well enough to watch something else. So here we go. Like I said, I got into that relationship. I thought that this person was the love of my life, and obviously turned out that they weren't. And through navigating the season with the hurt and the pain, I've asked God a lot, like, where were you? Why would you let me go through something like this? Why would you let me meet this man and break 7 years of celibacy and like all that because I thought that he was my person? And when I really thought about it, God was really right there. There's not another way to say it. God was really right there. God tried to warn me, and the beginning of the relationship, I ignored that because I had already grown feelings for him. With any abusive relationship, it's intense, it is fast, like you are just full NASCAR. Like it is very unexplainable until you walk through it. And this was not something that I had a basis to be able to draw experience from. I'd never heard any of my friends talk about dating a narcissist. I've heard a couple of my friends saying they don't want a narcissist, but no one's ever taken the time to be like, these are the characteristics that I'm trying to avoid that lead to someone being a narcissist. So I had no reference to go off of in regards to like, look out. Were there red flags? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I ignored every single one of them. Every single one of them. So like God already was there. He was showing me the red flags and I ignored it. And there continued to be flags throughout the entire thing. There continued to be women that showed up. There continued to be things that didn't make sense. There continued to be just all of these things. And I ignored every single one of them. Every single one of them. And then it hit me after I had posted him online, and a young woman reached out to me and she was telling me about their relationship, and that just that it was violent. It hadn't gotten to a point where there was consistent physical violence with her yet, but I had learned from his previous fiance that he is physically violent, if that makes sense. And so as I'm listening to her tell me about their relationship, my relationship with him was nothing like that. And that's not giving him credit. That's not, saying that he's really a nice person. That's not any of that. I'm just saying that God's hand was over the treatment that I received. I have prayed and wanted a man who was chivalrous, who was kind, who was caring, who thought about me when I was away, you know, like not in his presence, who was a protector, who was a provider. Like, those are the things that I want in a husband. And those were the things that he exhibited to me. And that was part of the reason that I ignored those red flags that said something wasn't right. And I know that that doesn't make any sense, because you're like, if he's all of these things, then why were there red flags? Everybody has red flags. Everybody has things that may not work for them, but sometimes you've got to you got to do the checks and balances thing. And because I was already head over heels for him, I did. I listened to this story and their relationship, and like, it hit me like a pound of bricks, because I was only with him 5 months. Like, I knew him August 6th is when he slid into my DMs. We broke up January like 2nd. Like, that was it. I was done. And so I knew him 5 months. That was more than enough for me. And God allowed for all the things to come to light. And even just hearing their relationship that they had and the relationship I had, God's hand was covering me. He was there because I could have gotten what she was getting. So I just thought back to really the whole 5 months. And as much as I want to blame God, I also have to understand that we do live in a world that has free will. And I made the choice to ignore those red flags. I made the choice to stay in something that didn't necessarily feel right, because something did feel off. I just couldn't name it. But in all of that, God was still there. God was still protecting me. God still had his hand on me. God was still covering me from something that could have been so much worse. God rescued me from a lifetime of dealing with that. And I knew him 5 months, and I was like, yeah, I can't. This is entirely too much. I have people in my life that have been with narcissists for years, have raised families, have children. As I've navigated through group therapy, I have come across, like, the more that I talk about the relationship, the more people are like, this has happened to me too. And I feel like that's another aspect of God being there, because we can get in this place where we become so embarrassed and so filled with shame that we literally think we're the only ones that's ever gone through any type of abuse or control or trauma. Sorry, I think I just spit on myself. But we're not. And I think that that's one thing that God really wants for us to get out of it, is community. And sometimes it's a really jacked up way to have that community. And that's still something that I struggle with. But it does create that community. We won't have anything to talk about if we aren't going through the same situation. There are some of you that are here because of just the makeup. There are some of you that are here for these kind of videos where we talk about real life, mental health, spiritual health, caring for ourselves, loving ourselves, trying to figure out life. Either way, it's still a community. And not talking about these things wouldn't give us the place and the space to come together and be like, yeah, that happened to me too. I went through that. I understand those feelings. I understand those emotions, those thoughts, those habits, those things like that. Like, this really is a God thing. And as hard as it can be to come to grips with the pain and the struggle and the anger, because there's definitely some anger there, it also has brought me pockets of peace and pockets of confirmation that I am not alone. And I have never been alone. And I will never be alone. And although I don't understand all of the things that took place, it's probably for my protection. And as I continue to grow and I continue to heal and I continue to process and allow myself to feel the feelings, I see his hand more and more and more and more and more. 5 months was long enough. 5 months was long enough for me to see that that's not what I wanted. That is not something that I'm willing to say, you know what, this is God's best for me. Because I don't believe that. There are times where who I am wanting to become and who I am walking through in this healing process does come up against my past traumas and my fears and my settlements, because I was willing to settle. In the beginning, I was very willing to settle. No, that's not what I want. And not to sound selfish, that's not what I deserve. As a child of God, that is not what I deserve. Did it come to try and take me out? Absolutely. Absolutely. And because I have free will, I continue to make that choice that I knew was not good for me. And God allowed that to break me to see that that's not really what he has for me. And I want everything that God has for me. There's not another way to say it. And that was not it. And so with all of this, I hope and I pray that this short video is encouraging to you in regards to looking out for the ways that even in the midst of the crap, that God is there for you. That even in the midst of the trauma, that God is there for you. And it may not make sense. It may not make sense as to why you're being allowed to walk through something like this. It may not make sense as to why it's happening. It may never make sense to me why it happened. And that's just the reality of it. It may never make sense as to why I chose to stay there. It may never make sense to me as to what lured me to him, because I know what lured him to me. I did a short on it. But what lured me to him, those may never be questions that I have an answer to. But I do know that it did not get as bad as it could have gotten. And that is only by the grace of God. So I know God was there. I know God is here now as I am navigating and walking through this season of my life. Has it been easy? No. Absolutely not. And I think that's one misconception that I have had to kind of come to grips with as a Christian, because it is so often taught that we become saved and life becomes easier. It's good, everything's good. And the reality is that we are still living in this world where people are evil. And we will encounter those people. And those people will try to kill, steal, and destroy what is really meant to be ours. And it doesn't seem fair, but that is the reality. And I say all of that because it is just a reality check for myself. It has been when I am going through those moments that I don't understand. But I am coming to peace with not understanding, and more so focusing on the healing, my personal healing, my personal traumas, my reasons why I stuck around, even for that 5 months. And so I just hope that, like I said, that this is an encouragement to anyone who's watching this, that one, you're not alone. You're not the only one to not only go through any type of abusive relationship, but also to question God, also to question Jesus, also to question the Holy Spirit, or whatever deity or spirituality you choose to believe in. You're not the only one to question that. We all have questions. We all wonder. We all are curious. But as I get farther away from the situation and I get deeper into God, the more I see his hand. And I believe that if you have those moments where you're able to do that too, that you will see his hand. The fact that you are alive and watching this and feeling connected through this video, because I don't think that you would watch it if you weren't, feeling connected and feeling seen is evidence that he is with you and that he's got your back. And so I just want to come on here for a second and talk about kind of just the stuff that I am still just like navigating through and have experienced in this season of my life. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I don't have any of this figured out. And I don't know that, like I said earlier, that I really will ever have all of this figured out. But I know that I'm healing because I'm able to see the goodness of God in the midst of it. And that is not something that I could have done in February when I was ready to take myself out of this realm, if you get my drift. Anyways, I don't want to make this video too long. It is a sensitive topic, but I also think that it is relevant. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's definitely something that needs to be talked about because, again, we can get in this world and feel like we are so alone with our traumas and the things that we're going through, and we are not. So I hope that this gives you a bit of peace. I hope that this encourages you. I hope that this lets you know that you have a community and that people are out there that love you and that see you and that really do want you to feel like you're just not alone. So I love you guys. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.